Hi, this is Dr. Teresa Dale and Mark Allen here with you for Natural Health Radio. And we are going to be talking today about health freedom, about treating and helping the body to balance and to detoxify and cleanse. We're going to be having an expert on for you by the name of Michael Rankin. But I just want to take a moment to communicate with everyone and introduce you to Mark.
How are you, Dr. Dale?
I am wonderful, thank you.
You're looking terrific. Thank you very much for having me in the studio with you. One of the things that we're going to talk about with the health freedom is the freedom of choice.
Right.
Which some people feel that we don't have, and we'll get your thoughts on that and maybe even some of my thoughts on that in about a half hour from now. We'll also be talking with Michael in just a couple of moments, and we're going to find some secrets out.
Oh, a lot of secrets.
A lot of
secrets. Just stay tuned if you like secrets, not the Victoria kind, but regular secrets.
Oh, I like the Victoria kind. Well, anyway.
That's not this show. That's the other show.
That's the other show?
Okay.
You got it. Do you want to introduce...
I do. I want to introduce Michael Rankin. Welcome to the show, Michael, and we are going to be discussing how you contribute to humanity and the tools that you have and how you help people. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dale. I'm really honored to be on this program with you because I've followed you for a lot of years, long before I became a doctor, and I've followed you ever since. And I found that what I learned from you contributed so much to my foundational understanding. And I've always been able to trust your word and what you provide, and so I'm delighted to be here with you today.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual. You know, I understand that you do Dr. William Kelley's metabolic therapy and that you use Chinese herbs. And I wanted to discuss with you what is that therapy, and how does it help people?
Well, the foundation of the therapy goes back to the original foundation of my clinic. I actually call my clinic Kelley Metabolic Center after Dr. Kelley because I loved the man and I loved what he provided. He was a very humble doctor, and most people don't realize is that he had one of the highest success rates in the world. So when I created the clinic foundation, I wanted to understand who had the top healing methods in the world, and Dr. Kelley was right at the top. Along with Dr. Hammer, Dr. Curry, and some others. And so when you look at the testing that Dr. Kelley did, which we do a kind of a modernized version of that today, we're able to determine what are the conflicting issues that are preventing the body from healing, with detox being one of the top issues that most people overlook. The other thing that he did was he tested very clearly for what people need. So he was able to reverse his own pancreatic cancer. When he was diagnosed, he said very clearly to everyone around him, he said, you know, I'm a Christian doctor and a Christian man, and he said, I can't believe that Jesus would have left me empty-handed. And so he began to study and pray and look, and he got all this advice from all of his well-meaning friends, and he realized that the well-meaning input that he was getting was just fear-based. And he said, you know, I'm sure that my Creator would not have left me empty-handed. He went on to study and discovered Dr. Beard back in 1878 and found out that these enzymes that Dr. Beard was working with before Madame Curie was actually discovered the issue of using radiation for what she used it for, that he was able to reverse his own pancreatic cancer. And so
that is so interesting. My goodness.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing. And you know, not enough people hear about this today.
I was going to say that usually, even today in the 21st century, forget the 19th century, but the 21st century, when somebody is diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, most people consider it a death sentence. Doctor, am I right?
Yes, that's
absolutely.
Right. And you know what Dr. Dale knows, and I certainly know as well, is that when people said so-and-so died of cancer, it's not really true. I've actually never met a human being yet in 20 years of natural medicine where someone has actually died from cancer. They've died from treatment. or very, very poor treatment, either natural or unnatural. But if you look at the statistics and you look at the work done by Dr. Weinberg from Stanford University, he showed us, he did a talk which is very publicized, and he's the doctor who wrote The Biology of Cancer, which is a magnificent book we're all supposed to read. And in his talk, he said that when you give chemotherapy, the percentage of cancer that's actually addressed by the chemo is a very, very small percentage. But unfortunately, the very stimulating effect of chemotherapy is to stimulate the stem cells, which were never meant to be stimulated in that way by chemotherapy, and they will spread and become a metastasizing factor. So when you look at the real statistics behind cancer, 97% of all people that succumb to cancer is not cancer per se. It's not their original diagnosis per se. It's the spreading of the cancer that causes the issue. So when we do the cancer profile test, we find that their levels of cancer after chemo can be far, far greater than someone who's never received it. Far greater, okay?
That is so interesting.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And then on top of it, the metastasizing cancer that we measure, and the cancer profile test is the only one I know that does that, that can be so far outside of the normal bounds when chemo or radiation is applied to the human body that we verified what Dr. Weinberg said so many years ago. I think 2008 is when he made his presentation. They've been trying to find, quote unquote, the method of stopping the spreading cancer, but the Chinese discovered it over 5,000 years ago, and we use their formulas today to stem that issue with herbs.
So you use Chinese herbs, Chinese herbs, and you also use enzymes, correct?
Exactly. And the enzymes that Dr. Kelley developed are not the general pancreatic enzymes that people hear about. They're not the enzymes that Dr. Gonzalez used. They're the enzymes that Dr. William Kelley developed, and they're very unique. They have an assay level of close to 900,000. And if you look at the enzymes that are available for people to purchase out on the Internet, they don't have that assay level.
What does that mean?
That means the strength. And Dr. Dale knows because she looks at all these kinds of things when she develops her products. The assay level is the strength of the product that's being used at the application rate that is required by a given patient. So when you use Dr. Kelley's enzymes at the rate that is required, it is so strong that we have to stop them for 6 days before we can even measure a cancer profile test, because if we don't stop them for 6 days, the cancer profile test may show no cancer activity at all.
Right, right. So, so how long does it take before someone has a positive effect on whatever health issue that they're working on, whether it's cancer or a virus or something else?
Well, and that's a very good question about the virus. Let's use my son as an example. He's the only patient I can actually talk about because he's the only patient I can actually talk about in public because it's not legal otherwise.
Right.
But my 43-year-old son had some of the highest cancer levels that I'd ever measured in any human being, and so when I started working with him, I was a little bit taken aback when I tested him. How much cancer he had, and it was in so many different areas of the body. It was a bit disconcerting because he's my child, right? But he also said that he would be completely compliant. So when he started my program, he was about 225, 30 pounds, and he started on the program, started with the herbs, started with the diet, started with the enzymes, and within 6 weeks. Within 60 days, his weight had dropped to 162 pounds, but his muscle mass increased.
Oh, my.
So, that's amazing.
Yeah. So if you look at his picture today of where he is today versus when he started, he lost 62 pounds of fat, but he gained muscle.
Wow, I would think everybody listening would want those enzymes for weight loss. Muscle gain
and muscle gain. Doctor, and this is really directed to both of you. We're talking about somebody who's been diagnosed with cancer and comes to your clinic, doctor. What about prevention or early detection? Are these not important things to look at as well?
My goodness. You know, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we have to spend our time. We are in the business of helping to prevent as well as reverse these issues. And if you don't evaluate where the people are, this biomedical test we do, which is based on German technology that's over 100 years old, we're able to determine what are the factors that are allowing the cancer or any other health condition to get out of balance so that we can actually get ahead of the curve. So, for example, I got called by a person who's with the fire department in one of the United States' largest cities, and he has been exposed to so many toxins, and he's a young man, he's in his latter 30s, and he is concerned that he is high risk, and he is high risk because he's been exposed to so many things that his body has become weakened by those exposures. But what is exacerbating it, which we learned from Dr. Hammer in Germany, he looked at the emotional component. So for this man who has a conflict in the prostate, that conflict is caused a weakness in the prostate, which is where the cancer will harbor. Right. You know, cancer is very opportunistic. Dr. Ravici said that cancer is a conflict of imbalance.
It is.
That cancer is a very opportunistic health challenge. So if you get to the core issue of why the body's imbalanced and you address it with the natural items, like let me take an example. Okay, you take someone that probably 70% of the people that come to us with a health challenge, a very large percentage, over 65% of them have a thyroid imbalance. They have an adrenal imbalance. So when you look at the products that we begin to test them for, we do the nanoiodine that Dr. Dale developed because it's safe, because it gets to the core issue. We use the product that you use for HPA axis imbalance, because if you don't balance that, then you can't get to the core issue of the immune system weakness, because the thyroid's out of balance.
And so that's just to clarify, that's the HPA axis is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. That means that involves your entire endocrine system.
So as a consumer, because you guys are using, big words from that I don't know. The idea here is to check a variety of systems in the body to make sure that you're healthy, and at the same time prevent cancer, to see if there's any chances that cancer can develop.
And also, as Michael Rankin was saying, it's our emotions. So it's like the cancer is very opportunistic, meaning that if someone harbors a lot of anger, a lot of hatred, rage in their body, then that really weakens their liver, and those emotions tend to store in the liver unless one does some work to release it. So is that what you're talking about, Michael?
That is exactly what I'm talking about. Let me give you a fun example, and I hate to tell it because it's so odd, but it was so effective. I had a fellow with squamous cell carcinoma in the jaw.
Oh my!
Which is a pretty nasty place to have it. And very, very big guy. He was 6'7", 375 pounds. Okay, within 8 weeks, he was down by almost 100 pounds. He was a martial artist, a builder. He never lost any muscle. But what was happening in the family was he had a very strong German personality. I don't mean that is a derogatory statement towards German, but he was a very domineering kind of German guy. He was very dominating in the family. Well, his wife, who was more meek and mild, had a sciatica problem, which is the gallbladder meridian runs up the sciatica through the hip. And she said, "What can I do? I'm trying to help. Let's call him Bill. I'm trying to help Bill as much as I can, but golly, it's sometimes hard when I'm shoving down this frustration and anger." And I said, "I want you to scream into a pillow." Okay, so what does that screaming do? She said she wanted to scream at Bill. I said, "No, you can't scream at Bill." So So what she would do is she would go back to the earliest age when her mother was doing the same thing to her that her husband is doing now, and she started screaming into a pillow, and within 20 minutes the sciatica pain left her.
Isn't that
amazing? She had been suffering for 6 months.
Right. I think people expressing their emotions by themselves first, and then find a way to communicate it without all of the angst and the rage that comes out when you do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was Mark screaming there. And the reason, doctor, that I wanted to do that is I wanted to let everybody know that they're listening to Natural Health Radio with Dr. Teresa Dale. I'm Mark Allen. We are speaking with Dr. Michael Rankin. And if you want information on Dr. Rankin, it's his website is testingcancer.com, testingcancer.com. And we also would like you to go to wellnesscenter.net, lots of great information. There's some videos on there. There's some articles about all kinds of health, all from the heart and soul and the education and experience of Dr. Teresa Dale.
So that is so kind of you.
No, it's true.
Thank you. And I want to say something.
Sure.
If anybody's listening and if they have an issue of a diagnosis of cancer, I would highly recommend that you call Michael Rankin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And go to his website. And I would, with 100% certainty, do I tell you that you're going to be helped there.
And that's testingcancer.com.
Right.
Testingcancer.com.
Well,
I have a question about that screaming and that release. I mean, we live in right now, we have a new administration in Washington, and if you were for him or against him, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of angst and a lot of anger, a lot of pressure. People are not speaking to family members because of it. The market is up, the market is down, the problem in the Middle East, the problem with your sister-in-law's former boyfriend who's coming back. I mean, there's just life issues, right? So, Dr. Rankin, how do we get rid of these anger issues? Screaming into a pillow, will that help?
Well, it's the cheapest thing to do. On my webpage, I've got a whole section about emotional healing because it is the core part of our practice. What I find is that if people will do the emotional conflict work, that they'll be much more compliant and they will heal much more rapidly. With my son, it was 60 days basically, and his cancer was completely under control. For the person that I talked about before with the squamous cell carcinoma, it was more like 6 months because he wouldn't do the emotional work.
Right.
And so when people do the emotional work, their cancers will resolve very rapidly. So we do a thing called EVOX with a very specific modality where we approach it where we know there's trapped emotions, and it's hard to describe in a very short period of time, but you can see people that have examples given on the webpage that with prostate cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, and so on, if they will do the work and study, I take the same track that Dr. Dale does. We will teach the patient, if we get someone who calls us for help, they must be willing to learn. We're not here to rescue. We're here to support and co-opt what their healing process is about. Because if they will co-opt with us what needs to be done, they will heal. And we don't want to have a clinic where people come and stay forever. It's not that kind of a practice. We want them to come and learn as rapidly as they can so that they will then be the one that orchestrates their own healing. Because if they orchestrate their own healing, then they will resolve it.
Dr. Rankin, I just wanted to say the other answer to why when people get frustrated with their life and politics and everybody and the Middle East, everything that's happened, the thing I would suggest is just to focus on being here now. Just
Amen.
Being present, being here now.
And don't turn on the news.
And don't turn on and just master the mute button.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. That is so important. When people start with me, that we give a list of to-dos, okay? They have to go do an inventory of EMF. They have to report back to me with that. They have to do an inventory of what's in their closet, in their cabinets. They have to look at what foods are available, get rid of everything that's not on the list, but they also have a news blackout, and they have to sign a paper with me that they will, for 60 days, not watch the news. You want to watch people go into some kind of a angst period is when they can't watch the news or they can't get on Facebook or whatever, okay? The second patient I talked about was a Facebook junkie. Finally I had to tell him. I said, if you're going to continue with me, get off of Facebook. He got off of Facebook. Okay?
Compliance is really important. And one of the things that you're saying is that at your clinic, you're not in charge. It's a team effort between your staff, you, and the patient.
That's right. That's exactly right. And
I wish all doctors would do that.
Isn't it amazing?
Well, yeah, because you have to understand, one of the things that Dr. Dale told me a long time ago when I was first getting started, and she was such a good mentor, she said, Michael, the patient has to remain in charge, okay? It's when vanity rules and reigns of practice, the patient always loses, okay? So when the person rules and reigns their own recovery, they will be the ones that eventually succeed. And they do. And so we run it that way, and we've created a practice of long distance. People do not have to travel to the clinic to heal. It's a failed type practice. They're going to do things in their home like sauna. They're not going to come here. They're going to use products like the PEMF in their home, not here. They're going to do the dietary program in their home, not here. They don't have to come and see me face to face to learn what they need to learn. They need to do it in their home. My great-great-grandfather was a doctor that traveled in the hills of Tennessee, and he said, I can tell much better what's happening in the person's home than when they come to my practice where it's kind of a clean, perfect little environment. I need to go to the home and see how they're living, and he did. And he would travel the hills of Tennessee and see how people lived, and every year we have a reunion in Tennessee where people talk about these things. Well,
that reminds me of something you're saying, before I forget, is very similar to what I learned in Germany from physicists and biophysicists. They taught us to dowse. I do dowsing as well, to dowse the home to see if there's electromagnetic fields from electrical appliances or things like that running through the bedroom so that they're not sleeping, or perhaps if there is an earthquake fault line right under, or a water stream way under the earth that can really cause disturbances in sleep. So I think going to the home, what you're saying, although it sounds to many people just tuning in may sound a little awkward, it's really effective, and it really means something, because of when you go in there, you may be shocked to find out all of the things they have plugged in around their headboard, right?
Oh, it's astounding what they have. I had a lady just yesterday who just got started with this, and she said, what do I need to do tonight? I said, number one, unplug the TV that's in your bedroom that's 6 feet from your feet. Okay, she said, well, I leave it on so I can sleep. I said, well, that's not exactly effective. So I got her to. I sent her some frequencies that she could play that are well known. You can find them all over the internet. Frequency 741. She played it at night. She turned off all the electrical in her bedroom, and she slept 8 hours for the first time in 6 months.
Amazing. I'm curious about something. I know about the electricity, and I understand that, but water, a natural
stream, a natural stream under the house,
right?
No matter, even if it's many, like 15, 25, 50 feet down, it changes the vibration. So when you are not in the stream area, when you're just on the earth and you're just not in, walking above or sleeping above where that is, your body is functioning and processing at a specific frequency, and it's a very good frequency to help you sleep. Well, the changes in the earth electromagnetic field when you're over a stream with running water changes everything about your body. So
and we're 90% water as it is. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So your body just picks that information up, and a lot of people who sleep in homes like this, in cancer, they have those homes marked so that no one will buy them or sleep in them. They're used for research because everyone who has lived in that home has had cancer for 50, 60 years. So we have to understand these are very real things, albeit not taught in the United States. It doesn't mean that it's not the very best. I think the things taught in the United States are to serve the big pharma, are to serve lots of things, but not oftentimes, not the patient.
That's exactly right. This geopathic stress is a major issue. I had this issue with my son, my 14-year-old son. His bed, we tested it. He wasn't sleeping, and he was getting headaches, and he's a very healthy child. And we had moved his bedroom around because he wanted it for decorating purposes. And we ended up putting his bed right over a geopathic stress area. And when I tested him for it, I said, oh, my goodness gracious. So all I did was move it about 6 feet to the right of where it was sitting before and tested it again, and it was perfectly fine. So, and then the headaches went away, the sleep issues went away, and his focus at school was back to normal. So these things are real issues. And the funny thing about it, and I haven't proven this, but I've been told by other colleagues at conferences that if you look at where a cat sits, the cat sits right on top of the strongest geopathic stress zone.
I've heard that from the physicists. And the dogs are the opposite.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Yes, and dogs are the opposite. That's
and
right.
That ants tend to go towards the geopathic disturbance.
I love dogs and cats. I hate ants. Are there geopathic zones every place? I mean, in Dallas, Chicago, Los Angeles,
everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And you remember back in the 60s, well, you may not, Mark, but
bless you.
Not Dr. Dale either, but I remember the 60s. And you find that you remember when they made fun of I made fun of them. My friends would say, "Go hug a tree." Really?
Right.
Well, if you hug a tree is, especially an older tree, is a very grounded entity. So if you go sit or lean against a tree, you will absolutely ground and discharge geopathic stress out of your body or EMF stress out of your body.
What about lower blood pressure?
Definitely.
Wow.
Definitely.
So there are homeopathic remedies for the geopathic stress to take it out of your body, to balance that effect, to normalize your body so that it doesn't react to that. But you still have to move your bed, or however, if you're sitting all day in an office, and let's say you're sitting on a geopathic stress line, or then that would affect you. You may get more tired at work.
That's right.
We're running out of time, and I'm learning so much from Dr. Rankin as a healthcare consumer, not as a healthcare professional, and we really appreciate that. In our remaining time, Dr. Rankin, can you give us one example, one thing that everybody should do at home tonight as they listen to be healthy? Just one thing. You've got 30 seconds. Go.
In your bedroom, make sure there's no light. Make sure that everything that's electronic is turned off. Make sure there are no cell phones, no TVs, no radios, no clock radios. Make sure your sleeping area is a completely dark black area. And if you can't make it that way quickly, then get yourself a silk mask and wear that when you sleep. And you'll find that you'll sleep better than you've ever slept in your life.
I'll try the sleep mask.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Rankin. Michael Rankin, please give him a call, or his website is?
His website is testingcancer.com, testingcancer.com. You can call the office at 954-889-3896. I'll repeat that, 954-889-3896. Dr. Rankin, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I've sent your webpage out to so many people, both Dr. Dale and yours, Mark, because they're safe things to send out with good information. You guys are just wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate that. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Wow. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to talk for just one more minute about Wellness Center and what we can find at wellnesscenter.net. Mm-hmm. And then you and I are going to spend the next 20 minutes or so chit-chatting about things such as health freedom and what that really means.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
If you're thinking about changing your lifestyle, if you're thinking about getting yourself healthy, if you're thinking about making that move today, I want you to visit wellnesscenter.net. wellnesscenter.net. It is just jam-packed full of exciting, up-to-the-minute, up-to-date information from Dr. Dale, from her years as a clinician and as a researcher, that will help turn your life around. If you're not sleeping well, if you're gaining weight, whatever your problem might be, there will be an answer on wellnesscenter.net, wellnesscenter.net. And in addition to all of the great information, the free information, there's a variety of products such as All Flu, which is something I'm taking on a regular basis because it helps fight the flu and I guess viral and bacterial infections. It's a wonderful product. I'm really encouraging you to go to wellnesscenter.net. Now I get to spend some time with my friend Dr. Dale.
Oh, I'm so happy. And we're going to talk about things that are so important. One of the things that I want to encourage people to do is to go to my website, but for the purpose of doing some free self-tests. There's no charge. You can do a free self-test to see if the symptoms for a condition that you think you might have, let's see if that's real. And these are a self-test. So you may want to check it out. They're for hormones, digestive, gallbladder. There's prostate for men. There's all kinds of self-tests.
How do I do that?
Well, you just look, you go there and you look at all the symptoms and you check off the ones that you have. Now, all of these symptoms are in medical, all of the medical biochemistry, and you can look at them in Medscape and WebMD, all of these different places. So what I did is I took all the symptoms of the possibility of having that, and then you check off which ones you have. And if you have a few of them, then you know that the possibility is very great of your having it. At least it gives people, let's say that you think you have a prostate problem, but you don't. And you go there and you look at the symptoms, you go, well, I don't have any of those. So it can also make your mind feel a lot more at ease.
One of the things that I've heard from doctors, and this is allopathic physicians primarily, that is, there's too much information out there on the web, and did you get a degree on the web and your medical degree on the web? I'm telling you what's right. I'm telling you what to do. I find that reprehensible. That I think as patients we need to be as informed as we possibly can be. So, and that's part of health freedom to me.
Yeah, it is. I think that people deserve to have the freedom to make choices. And their choice is something that they're going to take oftentimes from their gut, and it's going to be correct. In other words, no one knows your body like you do. So if you go to a doctor and try to explain to the doctor what you're feeling, he may not quite, he's going to try to fit you in a little box to put a label on it and then give you a script. Okay, but that may not be the problem. The whole idea is to find the cause of the problem, and that's what most health providers don't do, is they look at a level on a blood test and they go, that's the cause. No, it is not the cause. In other words, you can have higher liver enzymes, you can have all kinds of things show up because you're in emotional turmoil, because you're feeling a lot of anger, because you're eating toxic food, junk food, and all of that. And, you have to really understand that blood testing is not the cause. It is showing your symptoms. It's showing what is related to the symptoms you're having, but in no way goes anywhere near having the cause. Even if you have a calcium deficiency or a magnesium deficiency, you look at that, and if it's off, you say, oh, well, I have a deficiency. Well, what's the cause of the deficiency? Do you have a digestive problem? Can you not digest your food or absorb nutrients correctly?
One of the things that you and I have talked about is a deficiency of, say, vitamin D. Now, I've talked to healthcare practitioners from both sides of the fence. Traditional allopathic doctors are now saying, yeah, we do have a problem with vitamin D. Naturopathic doctors have said for years that vitamin D is, we have almost an epidemic level of deficiency in vitamin D. Part of it is because we don't stay out in the sun,
that much.
Or we put junk on our
Unless
skin.
you're a surfer, you probably have great vitamin D3 levels if you're a surfer.
Right.
Well, I think we should really talk about the deficiency in having fun. I mean, a lot of people have a deficiency in fun. They just don't have enough fun in their life. They don't enjoy themselves. They work so hard. They work 3 or 4 different jobs. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to learn to have fun. I mean, to go like when you were a kid or wherever it's going to take for you to do that in your life, because that makes you healthy. So vitamin D3, we were talking about that. I think that it's phenomenal for the immune system, although some people take it to a level that it doesn't belong. In other words, I have a health provider that I work with, and she researched, she had a serious cold, and she took 15 5,000 milligrams each tablets 5 times a day.
Oh my goodness.
And she took that to see what it would do as a research project, and it really helped her cold a lot. Like, she almost didn't have it. But here's the thing. You have a cold, you take a little bit of a product, that we've talked about that works with flu.
Flu.
And you can get rid of it without stuffing all of these vitamins. I don't believe that's healthy either. I think it's healthier to go outside.
There can be too much vitamin D.
There can be too much vitamin D, and you want to be careful and not just do your body is your body, but you don't want to do research on it for unless if it was for one day, if you did it for one day. But if you continued that would not be very good.
But if you're not a professional researcher, you shouldn't be doing it. One of the things that you wanted to talk about today, and I took us off to the vitamin D level because that was something that we mentioned deficiency, and we're somewhat organic here at Natural Health Radio. Let's talk about bioidentical hormones. I've talked to a number of people, again, both naturopathic doctors and traditional allopathic docs, and I get mixed signals. I can't figure it out. Are they good or are they bad?
Well, the whole science behind it is, once you understand how it's made, then it answers the question. So when you take a substance and you compound it, it turns it into a synthetic. That's just the process. Okay.
So it's no longer natural.
It's no longer natural. So they are not natural. And when I have, presented lectures and different things all over the country, I've spoken, and in Europe, people come up to me and say, because they read my book, Revitalize Your Hormones, and they'll say, I just want to tell you that I have breast cancer. I've been on bioidentical hormones for 7 months. I don't have it in my family. No one in my family has cancer. And it started only after I took this. And that has happened to me maybe 150, 160 times, people. And so I listen to people, and I do research from what they say. But one thing you can count on is that anything compounded turns into a synthetic. So it is not natural. There is no such thing as bioidentical hormones. Why? Because you, in your body, even you, Mark, and Daryl too, you have a circadian rhythm.
Right.
You have
and it's our own.
It's your own circadian rhythm, and it produces hormones at different times of the day or the evening or early in the morning. It starts producing hormones of different kinds, and it knows to do that, and there's a rhythm to it. Well, what happens is when you give the body hormones, it gets confused because it knows it's supposed to do that job, and it stops. The circadian rhythm gets completely confused, and it stops, and that's why a person's entire endocrine system goes out of balance, why they get estrogen dominance. The body can't handle using hormones of any kind, whether you buy it at a health food store or it's so-called bioidentical hormones. That is just a marketing term. There is no truth to the fact that they call it bioidentical hormones and that it's bioidentical. It's not possible.
I know that most times when people are talking about hormone replacement therapy, it's regarding women. But in the last 10 years or so, we hear more and more men taking or being advised to take bioidentical hormones for a number of reasons. Their testosterone level goes down. They develop male
ED.
Male ED,
yeah.
Erectile dysfunction. They develop male boobs, and because their estrogen level is going up.
Exactly.
Right? It's a sign of aging.
And we see that all the time when we do saliva tests or blood tests in men. We see that all the time.
And so what can a man do to get rid of the male boobs? Forget the other stuff. The male boobs are...
That's the thing for you. That's the limit right there, the male boobs. Okay. So very easily you have to detoxify the body from the testosterone that's building up in the body and possibly even causing a severe liver issue because the body can't handle it. So men should never take testosterone. There's natural ways to do this and homeopathic ways to do it, which have zero side effects and absolutely work. So you want to detoxify the body with a cleanse. You also want to use a homeopathic testosterone to pull the excess levels out and bring it to normal. Whether it's low or it's high, it brings it to normal. And that is for men and women.
And that would be, a man of 50, should he have the same testosterone level that he had when he was 25?
I would say that depending on the man, probably when a person's in their 40s, depending upon their lifestyle, how they're eating, their relationships, how they handle stress. Stress is a big problem here. Their testosterone can stay very high normally if they're having, it depends, we're humans. We have relationships. We have, a variety of things going on with our work and lifestyle and what we're eating and all of those things. So I would say in the United States that by the time a man is 50 or 51, that they should start on check it out to see if they need a homeopathic hormone rejuvenation product and to definitely cleanse the body. Actually, every year, men and women should do a cleanse to remove all the things we've done during those years.
And when we talk about a cleanse, are you talking about
herbal.
An herbal cleanse.
An herbal cleanse.
An herbal cleanse. You're not talking about necessarily having a colonic like we talked about last week.
Right. Well, that could be part of the cleanse. See, the cleanse could be the herbs, the diet, and then the colonic to pull it all out. There's certain things you also have to check that can affect your body and can affect your hormone levels, and that's parasites. And that's one of the things I test for through the saliva testing. We can, I've looked at over 20,000, well over 20,000 before and after saliva tests. And so what I'm telling you is something that I'm 100% certain of, and that parasites can affect your hormone levels, your energy, your digestive system, your weight. It can affect your mind, your thinking.
Do most people...
A lot of people have them.
What percentage of the American people do you think?
Well, I think it just depends. It depends on their digestive system. It depends on if they're eating a lot of raw fish. You can get it from that, but you can also get it from organic vegetables that are not handled correctly. You can get parasites from anything. Drinking water.
Right. I could...
You see what I'm saying?
Unless it comes from the tap when it has all those chlorines.
Yeah.
Chloramines, right?
Yeah, and then you'll get toxic brain from the chloride.
When you cook, just talking about water, when you cook at home, Do you, if you're steaming vegetables, do you use tap water or do you use...
I use filtered water.
water.
I have a reverse osmosis system.
Which takes out the junk.
It takes it out. And also people need to know that their shower filter is very important as well. So because you can absorb that from the shower, and people who bathe and don't use any kind of an RO system in their house are actually absorbing it much more. If you're just bathing in water that is toxic, that has heavy metals, and even there's been known to be some Legionnaires or Legionella in LA water system in the past. And I'm very involved with researching all these things. A little bit paranoid maybe, but I have a lot of people to help, so I want to make sure I know what I'm doing.
Absolutely. What do you think is the number one problem facing Americans today in terms of health freedom?
Well, I feel that this is a big issue, that we should have the freedom to go to any health provider that we want, licensed or not licensed. I think we should have the freedom to write it off, if we have insurance, to write off all costs, no matter if the person was a colonic therapist, a chiropractor, an MD, or an acupuncturist or a nutritionist that's not licensed, or even a massage therapist. I think that we need to have the choice to be able to guide our life. And also for our children, we need to have the choice to not vaccinate our children.
Do you think that, you said not licensed, do you believe that we should license our doctors and healthcare professionals?
I think for, of course, surgery and giving drugs, then they should be licensed, maybe, definitely surgery. So I think anesthesiologists have to be licensed. There's licensing that is in place that's very good.
Right.
But there are also some natural health providers that are not licensed because they don't do anything that could kill somebody. Right? They're not giving drugs. They're not doing surgery. They're not doing anything invasive, but they're helping you with cleansing. They're helping you with emotions. They're helping you with many different things that may be even beyond seeing a psychotherapist. So because in psychotherapy, you don't necessarily work with the 5-element theory of Chinese medicine and all the emotions that are connected to every organ, gland, and meridian that we have. So there's many different ways to look at it. I feel like health freedom, it's very interesting that you're asking me this question, because there is a person right now in jail. His name is Kevin Trudeau. You can go to kevintrudeau.com. He was the #1 leading author, bestseller on the New York Times best-selling list for years. And he wrote about, his titles were like What Doctors Are Going to Do to Kill You and Don't Trust Your Doctor and all of these kinds of...
Very brilliant titles.
Very brilliant titles. But the information he gave in the book, I totally agree with everything that he's written. And so I felt like, oh, this is wonderful. I don't like the titles to the book, but I guess they sell, but I like the information that he was giving people. And so it turns out that he has been arrested and put in jail for writing a book on how to lose weight, how to easily lose weight. And so he is in jail for 10 years, and this is against, if you're an author, if you're a speaker, if you know an author, please tell them that our constitutional right, our freedom of speech is definitely being challenged. And if you can go to kevintrudeau.com, you will see that he has not been convicted of anything. He did not commit a crime. He did not do anything, but the judge, whatever that happened here, it is focused on him writing these books. That's the focus. So he is sitting in jail for 10 years because of this.
He has 8 years to go?
I'm not sure exactly how many years he has to go, but I can tell you for sure that I have really investigated this whole thing. And if you want to help him, not money, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about going to his website and writing a letter, clicking on some things to write letters to President Trump to see how we can help get Kevin out, because he has done nothing wrong. And, so I want to encourage.
And you are passionate about that. That's KevinTrudeau.com. I want to mention that I want people to go to wellnesscenter.net. We are out of time. The time has flown by.
I know. Thank you so much, Daryl.
And Daryl Wayne, thank you, our engineer.
Mark, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Dale.
And don't forget going to the California College of Natural Medicine. So that's www.cconm.com.
This is Natural Health Radio. We'll see you next time.
I can't wait. Take care.